Hi everyone, this is Kiana Miner here with crazycourage.com, and I'm so excited. I'm going to be speaking with Dr. Pam Howard today. Hi Pam.
Namaste.
Pam is a very dear friend of mine. We actually met years ago. We worked together at a wellness center. Dr. Pam was a pharmacist who started studying more holistic methods of regaining health and maintaining your health and well-being. She opened a wellness center in Atlanta, Georgia, which was very popular, and that's exactly where I met her. I came in as a client, and I never left. I actually became a massage therapist there and worked there for a couple of years, and the wellness center was just an amazing place. People didn't just come there to receive, physical or emotional healing. They actually came there because the presence of Dr. Pam and the presence of the space that she provided, it just, as soon as you walked in, everything that weighed you down, everything that held you back just seemed to melt away. And you became more and more of your true self. So Dr. Pam's gift is helping people realize their life purpose and actually align their lives with their life purpose. She is author of the book, The Life Plan Initiative. This is a workbook for discovering your purpose and living your dreams. So again, welcome Pam. I'm very excited to have this conversation with you today, and I definitely think the audience is going to get a lot out of it. So welcome.
I'm excited to be here. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm proud of you too. So tell me more about your book, because I think that is going to, sort of jumpstart this conversation about courage. Tell me about the book and how you came to write it and how you developed the courage to actually walk your life purpose.
Ooh, that's like a 5-part question. Okay, well, first of all, the way the book came about was I have at the time, I had a women's wellness support group that I was facilitating. And I just noticed there were certain patterns with the women as far as them not really staying focused or staying motivated to do the things they said they were going to do. They kind of put a goal out there and it would just stay out there hanging around, like, okay, I want to lose weight. And they were always just wanting to lose weight. And a few of them suffered with depression and, there was just things happening, and I wanted to find a way to reach them that was more permanent rather than temporary.
Okay.
And so what I noticed was it didn't seem they had a true focus in what they were doing. It was just kind of like, okay, I go to work, I eat, I watch some news, talk to some friends, and that was pretty much it. And so it actually developed because I was putting together a program in order to assist them, because whenever we would meet, I'd do little workshops with them as far as, assignments that I would give them to work on. And so I developed...
Really quickly, if you could just adjust the laptop. I'm not getting the top. Yes, that's awesome.
Okay, again, sorry about that.
So you were putting together
so I developed...
Go ahead.
I developed the program so that they would have something to work on that was a little more consistent and a little more permanent, and assist them with having a focus, because that's the main thing. Is a lot of times we don't have focus, so we don't know what to be consistent with. So I kind of developed this program, and then I said, if I have to explain this every time we go through the program, when I'm speaking somewhere or working with other groups, this is going to be kind of tedious and they're not going to get as much out of it. It's going to be time consuming. And so the workbook kind of came as an offshoot from that. So really it was a development of a life purpose program. And then I created the workbook to facilitate that. And that's how the workbook came about.
Okay, awesome.
Now you also asked about the courage to leave pharmacy and do what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I guess one of the main things, I think what was really important in that process is that I was never very concerned about what people think. If you're concerned about what other people think, then it's going to be very difficult to walk by faith and have the courage to do what you need to do, because you're going to constantly be living according to someone else's expectations or living up to the image that you think other people are holding of you. So I was never really concerned about that, because I was very clear that I've got to do what I'm supposed to be doing because I believe in obedience, to the Creator. So that kind of gave me the courage to do what I needed to do because I had fasted for purpose because I knew that pharmacy wasn't doing what it was supposed to be doing, and
How
that
did you know that? Like, what sort of gave you the feeling or the knowledge that it wasn't for you?
well, I just really, for one thing, when people would come in and they'd ask, "Oh, what can I take for energy?" I was kind of doing the interview thing where, okay, what you eat, how much water you drinking, how much sleep are you getting? So I was kind of going towards the holistic part anyway. And so I would have them I was teaching people how to come off medication, but I was getting paid to dispense it.
Okay.
So it was kind of a conflict of interest, and I knew that was an issue.
Mhm.
The other thing is I really didn't want to continue to see my customers getting sicker every year
Okay.
because taking the medication, they weren't addressing the original problem.
Mhm.
And so each year they would come back getting additional medications, having more severe issues because the underlying problem was still continuing its course,
Mhm.
but they weren't getting the symptoms because the medication was cutting off the symptoms.
Okay.
So I wanted something that was more actually healing rather than just palliative.
Okay.
So that's kind of all of that played into me leaving pharmacy. And once I did my fast and got a little more clear, answers just started coming, and it was like key in the lock for me. Everything after that was just like, okay, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. And I just went with it.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to say it's been easy because it's definitely not been easy the whole time, but it has been worth it the entire time. Always worth it.
Okay. Okay. Now you mentioned faith, that you had to develop the faith. Just talk a little bit more about the relationship between faith and courage. Because, I mean, as a pharmacist, you're probably making a good amount of money. You know, your income was steady. And I know financial fear of money, fear of not having enough money is what keeps a lot of people stuck where they are. So talk about how you develop the faith to kind of, weather the parts of taking that leap that didn't yield as much money as you were used to.
Okay, well, that was actually really a difficult part because I was still married at the time, and I had gotten a full scholarship for pharmacy school.
Okay.
So, of course, it goes back to the not worried about what people think because, when you have a full scholarship, now you're making all this money because you graduated. People kind of look at you like, seriously, you're going to leave this?
Right.
You worked so hard for it, and you're making good money, and you got all this, and you're going to leave.
Right.
But I always say faith looks like crazy. And faith looks like crazy.
Right.
But I also say that faith, because faith is the belief in something that's not seen.
Right.
But so is fear. And so
wow.
you have to choose. And that Bob Proctor, I'm paraphrasing Bob Proctor because it's one of the things that he said is faith and fear are both the belief in things not seen.
Okay.
You just have to choose which one you're going to believe in.
Okay.
So I chose to believe in faith, and so I left. And what I know is that sometimes if you want bigger results, you have to take bigger risks. So I could have played it safe and stayed in pharmacy and just been there, but I would have only been able to assist, a few people here, a few people there. And also I would have been kind of stuck in that income, for the rest of my life or however long I chose to stay there if I did nothing else. And I know that watching babies learn to walk, sometimes they stumble backwards and even fall before they get up and walk. But we don't tell them, don't walk.
Right.
We encourage them, keep trying. And so leaving pharmacy was kind of like that. Okay, I'm going to do this stumble back for a second and maybe not have the same income, maybe not have, the same comfort zone that I've had. But I'm knowing that even in this stumbling back, it's preparing me to be able to run. Okay. And that's what I really wanted. I wanted something where I could reach more people, where it was more permanent and a deeper healing, and also where the income was significantly different from what I was doing in pharmacy. So those were some of the factors that I considered. And I just say that, I believe that faith is what you use to create the door. But if you don't have courage, you won't ever be able to open that door and walk through it. So you really have to use your courage to open those doors, because opportunities will show up. But if you're living in fear and you don't have the courage to step forward with those opportunities, then you won't ever realize what's behind that door and get the most from it.
Oh, wow. I think that's so true. I remember when I first moved to Atlanta, I was going to have to work in order to get back into school because I couldn't afford the tuition. So I moved back. I moved back home to Washington, D.C., and then I ended up coming back down to Atlanta. And I came down with $300 and, the clothes that I owned, and that's all that I had. But I knew that the next step for me was coming back to Atlanta. So I just got on the plane. I had my $300, which wasn't even enough to pay my first month's rent. And but I had this unshakable faith. I knew that everything would work out, and the courage is what got me on the plane. And once I got here, getting a job and everything just flowed. I'm not going to say it was necessarily easy, but it certainly had a flow to it that it just felt like, I was kind of moving in rhythm with the direction that my life was headed in. So I definitely understand the faith and courage. What did you do to build your faith over time? I mean, was it something that you always had, or did you have to do certain things to get your faith to the point where you could trust it and you can act on it?
Well, actually, that last part that you said, act on it. That faith requires action, because until you actually take action, you don't have faith, you have belief. Belief is that thing you have in your mind where you say, I think this is this way, I believe this is this way, but that's all in your head. Until you actually take action on what you believe, you don't have faith. Because faith says, I don't see this, I can't prove it, but I know it, and I'm going to act accordingly. So the big thing with faith is that it requires action, and a lot of times it may even require massive action, but you have to take action in order to really have faith. Otherwise, you just have belief, and you won't ever be able to really experience the fruits of what you believe or the fruits of what you think you have faith in until you actually take action. And I think that in taking that action, even if things don't work out the way you think they should, quote unquote should, in taking that action, at least now you can tweak and clarify in your mind those things you think you believe, because you may believe something and then you take action on it and you say, oh, that was different from what it was supposed to be. So then you can take corrective actions to make sure that your mental process and what you know inside of you is correct. And that all comes through action and through having faith.
Okay. I love that. I think that's so true. It's so true. What would you say is your most courageous moment? Would you say was it leaving pharmacy, or is there something else, personal or within your business, that you would say, okay, this was my most courageous moment, this is the most courageous thing I've done so far?
I think that leaving pharmacy was a huge courageous moment, definitely a huge courageous moment. But to be honest, I think courage is something that happens on a daily basis. It's being able to show up as your authentic self. So on the surface, it may look like, okay, I left pharmacy and that was the courageous moment. But I think it's something that happens internally. It's a thought process. It's a way of being that for me, courage is a state of being. It's not just an action. The action is a result of a state of being. And so you have to live courageously every day, because it's going to take courage to keep doing the thing. Even if I leave pharmacy, okay, now what? Now I've got to have the courage not to turn back to pharmacy. And that was actually one of the moments that happened for me. I think it was probably even more significant than leaving pharmacy was staying out of pharmacy. Okay. Because when, you're building a business and maybe the numbers aren't looking like you want them to, it's easy to say, you know what, I could go back and work a month in pharmacy and have all this cleared up,
Right.
But if I really left because I felt that it wasn't beneficial to others, then I felt, if I went back, I'd be trading someone else's well-being for my own. And so that wasn't really an option for me. So in December of 2010, I decided, okay, well, if you really think that you're walking by faith and this is what is in line with what God has, shown you to do, then why do you keep renewing your license? So that courage thing, or crazy, whichever you want to look at it as, I crazily let my license go, my final license, because I had been licensed in a few states. Most of them I had already released, but I still had my Georgia license, which is where I live.
Okay.
And so I decided to let that license go and not renew it in December. Well, then, of course, in January, the business burned down.
I remember it very well.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, wow, okay, now I really get to see whether I believe. And that's when I said it takes action, because you can say you have faith, but then when things get tough, do you continue with that thing that you said you were faithful with? And so fortunately, because I had, decided, no, I'm doing this. And I love what Will Smith says. He's like, why do you need a plan B?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
You just focus on plan A and you make plan A work. B
right.
is a distraction because it's going to give you something to fall back on.
Mm-hmm.
You need to focus on A and work the stew out of A,
right.
And so I kind of let the license go, and then I had to fire, but I did not try to go back and get the license or any of that. I just said, okay, you know what? This is going to be my trial period. And perhaps there's something in this process that I need to get to be prepared to do the things on the scale that I know I'm supposed to do them. And it has been that kind of process of becoming. It's been a real process of becoming, and it's been an amazing, amazing process and very much worth it, because I've had people to say things like, Reiki saved their life. I never once, the whole time I was a pharmacist, never had anyone come in and say that a medication saved their lives, even though it could have been true. They may have had an organ transplant and maybe the medication kept them from rejecting the organ. I don't knock medicine completely. I think there is a place for it. I just don't think it's being used properly. But I never had that experience where someone said, oh my gosh, this saved my life. But since that time, working in the holistic arena, that's a regular comment that I get where, oh my gosh, Reiki saved my life. Oh my gosh, this assignment that you gave us, I really had started giving everything away. I hadn't told anyone I was going to end my life, but something about the assignment that you gave us made me want to try it. And I said, okay, I won't do it yet. I'll try this. Mm-hmm. And then that person is still around, so it's like, that makes faith, that makes courage, that makes action, that makes looking crazy worth it, because it gives you the confidence to keep going, because you now have proof to put with your faith.
Yeah.
And that strengthens your faith.
I think that fulfillment, that sense of fulfillment, like you're living on purpose and you're even giving purpose to other people, I think that's worth it. That's worth more than the money, more than anything else. So, yeah.
Definitely. And that's key when you said giving purpose to other people. That's key as well, because it's all about service and what you're able to do for others. And I think that's the other piece that gave me the courage, was because I knew I wasn't doing it just for me. I was doing it for any of those people that I was supposed to touch, because we all have our certain amount of people that we're supposed to impact. We have an obligation and a responsibility, kind of like if you had a little sister and your mom said, look, you need to watch out for your little sister when you guys go out. We all have that tribe, I would say, our little tribe that we're supposed to assist. And until we're serving our purpose, and until we're doing those things that sometimes take faith and take courage and look like crazy, then we don't do that. And so we don't feel that fulfillment. And so we end up with issues like depression and anxiety, because our spirit, our soul is knowing, look, you're supposed to be serving a better purpose. Let's get moving. What are you doing? And so the fulfillment in assisting others is just it's like air. It's
Yeah.
nutrition for me.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier, you kind of brought up fasting, that you fasted when you were thinking about leaving pharmacy. What are some other tools that you do to just stay clear and stay in touch with your intention and your intuition to know which steps you should be taking? Because I remember when the fire happened and you were just so calm. I think most people would have been freaking out at that point, but you were just very calm. You were like, okay, this is happening. You just were composed and you were faithful. You were faithful to something that no one else could see. So what things do you do on a regular basis to just stay clear so that you can have that focus?
Um, One of the things I do, oh, there's so many things because you have to, you're a different person throughout the day, not just, okay, next year I'm different than I was, but during the day you have these different personalities and different places where you are. And I think you need different tools to address each of those instances.
Okay.
So, in the morning I might get up and I meditate.
Mhm.
And that helps me to get clear. That helps me to get settled. That helps me to hear that higher intuition and guidance.
Mhm.
But then running, oh my gosh, jogging. Jogging with my music, oh my gosh, that just raises my vibration. I get clear. I'm able to figure things out. The answers come. I'm motivated to, go through the day.
Mhm.
So I really, really enjoy running. And then
Really
sometimes
quickly,
you
not
have,
to interrupt you, but what's your favorite song? Like, what's your, okay, I need this song to get pumped up?
you know what? I wouldn't say I have a favorite
Okay.
song that I use all the time.
Hmm.
I have, I do have what I call my run on my iPod. I have my run list,
Okay.
which is a series of songs, and it could be whatever happens to be. It depends on where I am right then. So,
Okay.
like for instance, right now, some
Hmm.
of the songs I have on my run list are Queen Latifah has a song from a few years ago called "Champion."
Okay.
Because I'm really feeling like, okay, things are going very well. They're breaking through, and that's a good song. I have a song that one of my favorite hip hop artists is Common, and he just came out with a new album, and he has this song called Diamonds.
Oh.
And I mean, that song just is just awesome. The beat, the lyrics, really get me. And Happy, of course, by Pharrell.
Okay.
So there's
Some great ones.
one called A New Day.
Okay.
New Day is Will I Am,
Okay.
and that one's really important. I actually have that one as a alarm for when I wake up in the
Oh,
morning
wow, that's good.
to remind me that today is a new day, no matter what happened yesterday, whether it was good or bad. Because sometimes we want to rest on our laurels and figure, oh, I did really good yesterday. Okay, that was yesterday, baby. Get up and do it again today. So
Right.
if it was a bad day, leave it in the past. If it was a good day, okay, you enjoyed it that day. Now let's do that
Oh,
again.
that's
So
awesome.
those are some of the songs that I really
Oh,
like.
cool. Okay. And what are some of your other practices? Did you have any others that you wanted to share?
Yes, you have to have people in your circle who know what you believe and who can keep you focused on who you are. And that's been very important because I do have those go-to people. And of course, you're one of them because I always tell people when I talk about the fire, I talk about you being there and how happy I was that I had someone like you who gets it. Because the first thing I remember, I never will forget the first thing you said. I called and I said, the center burned down, or whatever I said to you, and you were like, "Ooh, purification by fire." And I was like, "Yes, absolutely." And it was just like I was so happy to hear that because you almost don't want to tell other people because they immediately want to be like, "Oh, I'm so
Oh,
sorry,"
right.
and you're like, "No, you don't understand. This was like a commencement." It tells me that whatever I was supposed to get from that phase of my life, I got.
Okay.
Because one thing I know is for me, the way the universe shows up is that when it's time for me to move to another phase, things are taken from my life and then something else shows up. And so I don't get attached. And I think that that's important is to not have attachment to things because the example I give in the book is a chick and the egg. So you have this egg, and and the chick is in the egg and it's all happy and cozy and ooh, this is my world. And then all of a sudden the chick starts growing. And of course, once you start growing, the things that you're used to and the things that surround you may not hold you anymore because of who you've become. So the chick breaks out of the shell, and unlike us, the chick just goes on it, walks away, and pecks around in the yard or whatever for food and lives its life. But we tend to look back at that shell and say, oh my gosh, my shell is so broken up. And we look for glue and we ask for people to help us fix it and leave it alone. Just let it go. Your house gets foreclosed. Okay, yes, leave it there. Keep it moving. Better house on the horizon. So you just have to have that confidence and faith to know that no matter what this looks like, better is there. And if things are kind of not working out for you, it may not be working out because you're not the correct version of yourself yet in order to make those things happen. It might not work out for you because there's already something better in the pipeline. So you just have to automatically know that. And that's something that takes practice to get really into you and you are clear. So that I think that when the fire happened, I was already at the point where I was clear about that. When something happens, don't fret, celebrate, and give thanks because it was there to serve you, to help you, whether it was with your growth or whatever else. It was definitely something that was going to make you better. And that's what I want to do is always evolve and be better than I was the day before. So that's what happens. Sometimes things happen that don't look like you want them to look, but they're always for the better. And like I said before, that my mantra is worth it. It's always worth it. So you just have to remember that.
Oh, I love that. That's so awesome. And just that relationship between faith and courage, I think is so important. And I think that's a great challenge for us all is to try to be better than we were the day before. Just try to get better little and little day by day. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I could talk to you like all day about this. But we have to wrap it up. That was just amazing though. You shared some really good information and really good insight, and I think that was just really amazing. If people want to get your book, where can they get that from?
It's on lulu.com, LULU.com, and it's also on Amazon.com.
Okay, awesome. Did you have any last thoughts you wanted to share, or?
The main thing with I love what you're doing, and Crazy Courage is actually, it's almost like you said the same words because courage is crazy. That's why it's called courage. And so, because that means that you do something in the face of fear. And I want to just make people understand that it's okay to have fear. Fear isn't the problem. Fear is only an issue if you allow it to paralyze you. And that's when courage comes in. Okay. Courage basically means I didn't let this fear paralyze me. I'm going to have courage and keep it moving. And also be clear about whether the thing that you are afraid of, what if that fear is real? Is there any danger? If there's no danger, then why do you have fear? Okay. That's one of the things that Will Smith in the movie After Earth was talking to his son about. That was the key thing I took from that movie was if it's danger, it's okay to be afraid. But fear is basically that's being afraid of something that when you're not in danger.
I know. Doesn't it all feel like danger to us? I think that's so true because I think so many times we mistake danger and fear because it all feels dangerous. That's why so many people are stressed. So many of us are stressed, and why stress is the number one cause of disease in this country because it all feels like there's a lion chasing us, and there isn't.
Actually, it is danger, but it's only danger to your old self. And people don't want to change and they don't want to let go of the old self. So it kind of is a danger. It's a danger that your old self is going to be attacked. Your old self is going to have to release and move out of the way for the new you that's evolving. So the only thing that's really scared is that old you that's going to have to go away.
To stay limited, right?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So courage says, no, sweetie, we're going to move forward and we're going to be better.
No matter how crazy we look.
No matter how crazy we look. Crazy's fine.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you, Pam. So people, if you want to get Dr. Pam's book, it's available on lulu.com and also available on amazon.com. And what if they want to get in touch with you? What's your website?
Right now, they can reach me on my Midtown Atlanta Wellness Center website. So
Okay.
that is midtownatlantawellness.com. They
Mhm.
can also send an email to me. I'm open to emails, and they can send that to Pamela at midtownatlantawellness.com or Dr. Pam Speaks, DrPamSpeaks at gmail.com. And they can follow me on Twitter at Dr. Pam Speaks. And I just want to say thank you to you, Kiana, because you're doing this and people need this. And also, Kiana assisted me with writing my book, and that's one of those tools I told you about, having people around you, because she knows me, and so I said, okay, these are the words I want to say, help them to sound better,
Mhm.
and through the process of just knowing, okay, I've got someone who can assist me to make it a little better. I didn't end up having to lean on her as much as I thought I would,
Mhm.
but just having someone there with you matters. So you want to definitely have a tribe around you,
Mhm.
even if it's one person that kind of keeps you motivated, keeps you focused, so
Mhm.
that you can do something the next day as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with you because I think when you have people around you who challenge you to be your best self, you're less likely to retreat to that shell, just like the chicken and the egg, you're least likely to revert back to your shell, to your comfort level or your limitations. They help challenge you to keep going and moving forward. So, thank
Yes.
you so much for being that presence in my life, Pam, and for being here today to speak to everyone. So, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Fuck everyone with your crazy selves.
Bye, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow for the next interview. Bye.
Bye bye.